Hi, I'm Ray Seahorn, and you are listening to Pluribus Diaries.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Pluribus Diaries. I'm Annie.
I'm Jen.
We're here with you again, having our part 2 of our discussion of the season wrap-up of Pluribus.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about different stuff tonight, but if you haven't heard part 1, you might want to go back and listen to that first to hear what we've been discussing so far, because we might have hit topics that, we're not going to hit in this episode.
Yeah, and we may wind up referring back to things that we've said before. Who knows?
Exactly. Well, I'm ready, Jen. I have my Musk de Rabanne candle lit.
Love
really,
it. What does it smell like? What does Musk de Rabanne smell like?
It's a very masculine scent.
Is it?
I will say that. Yeah, and I mean it's almost a little too masculine. I don't love it, but
okay.
I like. I feel like that's storytelling. Because Rabanne is too masculine for Carol.
Exactly right. It's just inappropriately overly masculine.
Exactly.
I love it. I love that. It works.
You know what? That's actually a really, really good way to start off this conversation, because I think we do need to talk a little bit about Rabanne, aka Zosia. I'm sorry, I'll just always forever call her Rabanne. Yeah. Because look, we were before discussing like what we wanted to talk about in terms of a series wrap up. And one of the questions that you were asking me was, did anything surprise you about how the series unfolded, or how the season unfolded, I guess I should say. And I wonder if you're going to agree with me on this, Jen, because both of us said, I want to say it was back in episode 2, Pirate Lady, when we first met Zosia.
Yeah.
And saw her dynamic with Carol. And we both kind of agreed that maybe there was a little bit of individuality popping out, or maybe she was kind of breaking free from the hive or whatever. Thought that was possible. Maybe it was wishful thinking.
Yeah.
But we both agreed that if the show took this in the right direction, that we could maybe get on board with shipping these characters, right?
Absolutely.
Now, the biggest surprise for me, Jen, was how that did not happen. For me,
did not happen at all, and I agree. My surprise was sort of just a slight variation on that, which is that I thought that this was going to be a beautiful story. I thought that Zosia and Carol and their relationship was going to be this sort of beautiful heart of the story of Pluribus, of how human interaction can change people for the better, and that it can be a beautiful thing, and that they were going to have this nice little friendship maybe, and maybe eventually like in a season or 2, evolve into a relationship. But no, I was wrong about that, because it did not turn out to be the beautiful heart of the story of Pluribus. It turned out to be kind of, can I say, the rotten heart of the story of Pluribus? And it moved on to the relationship phase way faster than I expected it to, because Vince is not telling the story that I thought he might. Right. I made the mistake of thinking this is a traditional story, and it's not. I was, because in a traditional story like this, you have 2 people, very different, who could, maybe have a good influence on each other. Oh, this is going to be exciting. But that's not the story that Vince is telling. He's not telling that story. That's not what the hive is, and that's not what Zosia turns out to be. Right. And I found it really hard to accept for quite a while that that's what was happening. And I was quite disappointed at the time, I will say, but I have to respect Vince. He's the artist. And he's telling a different story than I guess maybe I had sort of dreamily hoped for.
Well, and I mean, look, I suppose it's not too late for that to occur down the road, but we're going to get into that, because I feel like there are some roads that cannot be traveled back down from what we've been shown. Yeah. But like, I think what's so interesting about it is that I really don't leave the season thinking Like, I don't agree with Manu says that Zosia is evil. I don't agree. I don't even really think the Hive is evil. I don't think that we're really supposed to think that they're evil. And I'm using that term specifically.
Yeah.
But I do think that we are supposed to leave that final episode feeling kind of empty. Like Carol, just kind of like, this is not what I want. This is not what I deserve. And this is not you. And I, like I said, I think I said this on the episode. She wishes that Zosia could give her that, but she can't. And I don't think she ever will be. Now, look, there's a lot of talk about unhiving. I've actually seen it talked about so often that people are using the word unhiving when everyone's expecting
as a verb. All right.
Right. Like everyone, and when I say everyone, I mean the people that I see talking online, is expecting that at some point, and I think story-wise it makes sense, that someone will be unhived or the whole hive will be unhived, even temporarily or whatever. Or what does that mean? Like, what is going to happen?
Yeah.
And like, I keep thinking, okay, well, in that case, if Zosia is unhived, like say she's turned back into the original Zosia, I still wouldn't ship this. Like, I still wouldn't. Like, how? Like, how am I supposed to? It's just because if I'm going to ship these two characters, I feel like I need to ship them the way they are now, the way they've met, the way they've developed this relationship. Not to say that it can't be rebuilt, but I find that so unlikely. Like, I find it so unlikely that if Zosia were to be unhived and revert to who she was before, or even become, as I've said before, Zosia 3, like if we had Zosia 1 and now we have Zosia 2, and if she becomes unhived, should she become a new Zosia 3? How, like, which memories will she retain? Which memories will she not retain? How will she feel about the joining? Like, these are all the new things that Zosia 3 will have. How will she feel about Carol? Will she feel anything at all about Carol? Will she be mad at Carol? Like, there's all of these interesting questions that I think.
Complicated questions.
Yeah. And I just, it's hard for me to ship a couple. This is the point. I'm sorry. I'm very long-winded tonight. But the point that I'm trying to make is that it's very hard for me to ship a couple where I don't buy that one side loves the other. And here's the thing. Carolina Vidra, bless her, love her, great actress. She can say on her interviews until the cows come home that Zosia really loves Carol. Yeah. And I believe her. Sure, Zosia does really love Carol, but she doesn't love her in the way that a human like Carol wants to be loved.
Yes.
That's not enough for her. And I think she made that very, very clear in the final episode. Jenn, you go. I've been talking too much.
Yeah, no, I'm just really thinking on all those. Those are all really great points. Really interesting. I think you're right. If Zosia were to be unhived, it's a totally, we're starting from square one at that point. Like, maybe I'll ship them, maybe I won't. There's no particular reason why I would, because I assume she'd be a totally different character. Yeah. She still looks beautiful, but that's about the only thing she'll have in common. It would be interesting. I mean, lots of really interesting questions, and I really look forward to at some point to seeing that process happen, because I feel like it's inevitable, I hope, from a story perspective. I'd love to see it happen sooner rather than later. But in terms of how they currently are, I have to accept the reality that not good. They're not good together. No. Super not good. Carol obviously had true, genuine feelings for Zosia, although you could question about the basis of those feelings, because a lot of it was sort of brought to the surface by her time of isolation.
Yes.
I think we could question whether what happened in subsequent, final episodes, if that had happened, if she hadn't had that time of isolation.
I think no. I think absolutely not.
No, I tend to agree with you. At least not like that. Not like that.
Yeah.
Because I got very attached to how their relationship was unfolding in, say, episodes 2, 3, 4, like Pirate Lady, Grenade, Please Carol even. I liked it. It was very, very on a very low simmer. We were just getting past the point of Carol not hating her. and kind of being a little bit friendly towards her. And that I found nice. It's like, that's kind of nice, isn't it? Just little things. I like little things. And then, of course, everything goes sideways and Carol winds up a very different person when Zosia comes back, which is all, of course, deliberate, I would say, on behalf of the Hive, Zosia being a part of that. And it's the way Carol is when Zosia comes back is very different. Thus, their relationship is very different. Carol is just desperate for that companionship, that intimacy, which I think is exactly what the Hive wanted to happen. Yeah. That hug between Carol and Zosia is like, to me, just filled with desperation.
Yeah.
And so is their kiss. Their first kiss to me is also full of desperation and just hunger more than love.
Right.
And it's a totally different kind of relationship.
But it's all human. Very human.
Very human, very believable.
On Carol's end. On Carol's end.
Zosia
is acting incredibly strange.
Zosia's just Zosia. She's doing her thing. She's doing whatever it takes to kind of, I would say, to keep Carol happy and also to placate her, I would say, as well, to keep her distracted and, just not a problem. Just keep her happy and placated.
We need to also keep our pronouns straight, too, because I know we often fall into saying she with Zosia, but it's they. It is they.
It should be they.
It is.
It should be.
Like, I have said it multiple times. There is no Zosia. As we would identify an individual called Zosia, it doesn't exist. She doesn't exist.
It's very hard, isn't it? For me, at least, as a viewer, to get my head around that concept.
It is. And I think, and it makes it, I love too, again, talking about the development of the season and the way that it was built and structured. By episode 4, please, Carol, when Carol's talking to her in the hospital and she's trying to wrap her head around it. She's like, well, when the undersecretary guy, you like Carol gets it, but she has trouble adjusting to it as well.
Well, it's not a natural way for us to think of people.
No, but I think that what you said earlier is interesting. Is like when in those early episodes, she was just kind of starting not to hate her, and I think the reason that she's starting not to hate her is because she's probably falling into that trap of thinking. And I want to say trap because it could be true. Of thinking that Zosia is an innocent victim. Like Zosia didn't consent to this. But you can't simultaneously think that and not be aware that like this is some sort of force that has taken her over. This isn't Zosia. This is the Hive. This is the entity, the pluribus, whatever we want to call it. This is a completely unrelated to Zosia being or I should say mindset that has taken over Zosia's body. So, and that mindset killed her wife. We can't forget that. We cannot forget that she, in essence, will blame and should blame Zosia, Hive, for killing her wife.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we can go from episode 7 to what we get into episode 8 so quickly, to your point earlier, only that could have made that happen. And it just does feel like a really meticulously plot from the moment Zosia shows up on her doorstep dressed like Raban. It is a plot. It is a plot.
It's a
to
plot.
Get her to change, to get her to convert. And I just, when you look at the whole season like that, it's just real hard for me to ship them in good faith.
Yeah. No, I agree reluctantly with all that you've said. And I think that and Carol can see it even early on. She can kind of see that this is all, something to try to distract her. She says, you're trying to distract me. In Grenade, she says, you're all a bunch of mind fuckers. She's right. And even on her whiteboard at the beginning, she said, like, don't play faves like all jerks equally or something. Yeah. All jerks same. She knows before the isolation and before her head gets slightly broken. Yeah. She knows what she's dealing with. And she keeps Zosia very much at arm's length. But again, is starting to kind of feel a little bit of concern for her. a little warmth towards her, as you would towards someone that saved your life, for example, with the grenade. It makes sense. But then, yes, after the isolation, and that this parallels my feeling towards Zosia as well, because I was, as has been discussed on the podcast, deeply in love with Zosia for several episodes, right up until, the gap, probably, the isolation, because she's just so damn charming and friendly and warm and
beautiful,
gorgeous, the accent, and a bit dorky, which is very sweet as well. So, and just all the kudos to Carolina Vidra, who plays her so well, and is, I think, also just a naturally very charming person. And so she just exudes that, I think, on screen. And it's easy to fall in love with her. And it was hard for me. I kind of had to go through that journey as a viewer to kind of say, oh shit, she's not what I thought she was. She's not what I hoped she was. I kind of hoped that I saw glimpses of individuality in her, and that maybe that's where that story was going, and that maybe even by the end of the season, we'd see some more evidence of her sort of breaking out of the hive and having a real relationship with Carol. And I had to accept eventually it was all bullshit, that this was all just a ruse. And it's hard in some ways for me to go back and watch those episodes that I really enjoyed watching the interactions between Carol and Zosia. And it's hard to know how to feel about them now. I'm very mixed up about the whole thing. Probably not unlike how Carol feels at the end of the finale, because there's just a lot of cognitive dissonance going on where Zosia seems so appealing, but I know intellectually she's doing bad things, and she's bad for Carol and doesn't love her and would convert her at the drop of a hat if she was given the chance. And it's tough. It's tough for me to get my head around it. So I can only imagine how poor Carol feels.
Well, and we say bad things, but like from the hive's perspective, they're not doing anything bad. Like they're doing things that they think are good, and they genuinely believe they love her. They believe they're doing what's best for her.
Yeah, I think that the
that's even scarier.
I mean, it is, right? It is. I think that analogy that Zosia makes in Grenade, where she says, if you saw someone drowning, you'd throw them a life preserver.
Yeah, that's how they see it.
I think that's a perfect way of explaining it, that you wouldn't wait. You know for a fact that you need to save that person. You know they're drowning, even if they don't.
Right.
And that's how they see it. And it is kind of chilling, isn't it? Because then nothing will discourage them from their mission, because they're so certain that they're right and that you're wrong.
Right. And I mean, look, there's a lot to be said about what's been done to Carol in terms of manipulation and deception and all of those things. But we haven't even really cracked the surface of what's happening to Zosia, to, OG Zosia 1, who did not consent to the joining. But for all intents and purposes, Zosia 2 is thrilled with it and is great with it. And that moment in Charm Offensive when she's talking to Carol and she's remembering her childhood and she's talking about it, I feel like that was the first time that we got to see like a glimpse of what Zosia was like, what her real, other than into episode 2, but Carol didn't see any of that. That made me look at Zosia very differently in terms of like, okay, she really is in there. She really is in there. She's aware of what's happened to her. She's aware of what's going on. Like, and I've said this before, it's not like they're sleepwalking. They've just been fundamentally changed into this new being. It's so hard to articulate. It's so hard to articulate.
It's hard to get, because she does, and this is why it's so easy to fall for her as an individual, whether that individual exists or not, and it doesn't really, because she is in there when I was so convinced by that story about her favorite flavor of ice cream being mango, and then telling this really lovely, believable story, which I'm sure is true,
Right.
about, growing up in Gdansk and all of the ships and all that. It's a great story. And it's very enticing. And that's, to me, I felt like, that's the real Zosia.
Right.
She's coming through. She's coming through. We're going to see the real Zosia for sure one of these days. But I look at it now and I'm like, was that all just part of the act?
I mean, I want to say, it was part of the act in that it means nothing to them anymore.
No,
like,
it doesn't.
They're doing that for Carol's benefit. Carol like touches her arm and says, "Thank you for telling me that." She made Carol happy by saying that. And that's the only reason that memory was accessed and brought to the surface. It wasn't because she was genuinely enjoying remembering that.
No.
Like, I don't think they're capable of that. I mean, you see how excited they are to read a new fucking book. Like, they can't even take joy in their own memories because they already know them.
Yeah. Then they know everybody else's, and they know their own memories from everyone else's perspective and all of that. Like, she knows the memories of the ice cream man and all those things too, probably.
Yeah.
It's, it looks, it's just, I'll say this for the Hive, they're very good at performing. And they don't necessarily do it from a place of malice. They think that that's what they need to do to make people happy. So, for Diabate, for example, he knows they're performing. They know they're performing. They're all performing quite happily together. Yeah. And that all works out well. Now, they're also, I think, performing for Kusumaya when it comes to pretending like everything is just fine in village life and everything is just the same as it always has been. That's also a performance, but one that she's not in on. And, it seems that Zosia was also performing. And again, not one that Carol's in on. So they're very convincing. This is obviously a knack. We've talked before about how the Hive is not necessarily like up to their eyeballs in emotional intelligence, because they do make some fundamental errors occasionally. But they are very good at pretending and convincing people. And they find a way, I think they're very good at knowing what people want to see and what people want to believe. And Carol wants to believe that Zosia loves her and that Zosia is an individual. And so Zosia plays right into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a question regarding that, because if everything they're doing is essentially an act or a ruse, how can we continue to say that they don't lie?
Well, that's a really great question, isn't it? I mean, the whole question of they can't lie is a very interesting question, because I think the fact that they can't tell a lie is very different from dishonesty in general.
Right. I mean, it's not like when she shows up dressed like Raban, she says, I don't know what you're talking about. This is just me. This is just what I look like. She right away was like, sorry, we thought it was somebody you'd like. Like, like she owns it right away.
She does. Yeah.
But the mere act of plucking a random woman from Morocco and sending her all the way over to Albuquerque and putting a wig on her.
Honestly.
And sending her like it's just so phony.
It's so phony. So fake. So very, very fake. Right from the get-go.
And that's their first act. Yeah. That's Carol's, basically her first introduction, other than the man kissing her, which we already discussed. Yeah. That's basically her first introduction to the Hive, is this phony.
This phony Raban character.
Yeah.
And she clocks it right away. She sees what they're doing. Yeah. And it pisses her off, as well it should.
And it still fucking works.
Then it still fucking works. Because by the time, we're in episode 8, Carol is writing a beautiful new story with Raban as a woman. It's like Zosia has clearly inspired her to write this story about Zosia, essentially. And it's just, there's this level of infatuation, I think, on the part of Carol at this point, that it's not, I think that Carol's interactions with Zosia, once they are sort of courting, so to speak, so we'll say like episodes 8 and then into 9, Carol seems very kind of like not herself to me. She's just, she's very sort of like meek and small and almost immature in a way, and not her usual kind of big, bold, mouthy
Seeking
self.
approval.
Yeah, seeking approval. And it's almost my husband Sandy said he reads to him like a teenage crush. That
well,
it's
I mean,
like
it
this,
is basically.
It's kind of what it is. It's this very sort of, and maybe because Carol might not have had a chance to really experience teenage crushes when she was a teenager.
That's true.
Because having been repressed in her sexuality, she may not have had much of a chance to sort of have that kind of experience. And it feels kind of like she's kind of doing it now. And who knows? They may have known that was a good way to get to her, that's the kind of relationship that could work with her. And it's I'd be willing to bet it's extremely different from how she and Helen interacted when they were dating.
Right. Which I would love to see a flashback of that.
Oh my God, yes.
I don't know if we can get that, but it's interesting because it's like Zosia, like we've said, is the perfect... Carol's perfect woman. Like, it's her fantasy delivered to her. Zosia's giving, other than the fact that Carol is aware that Zosia is the hive, which is a huge thing.
Bit of a barrier.
Big, yeah.
It
other
should
than that,
be at least, yeah.
Right. She's giving her absolutely no reason not to be happy. She's giving her everything that she could possibly want.
She is.
And then it makes me think too, like if anyone were placed in that situation, would you give up? This is the question. This is the big question. Yeah. Would you give up knowing that there's no individuality here, that there's nothing happening here that's special or unique? Would you give that up if you were getting everything you wanted? If you were quote unquote happy?
I think that it's very easy to fall into this, especially with someone in Carol's position. I mean, if it's me and I feel like I'm the only person left on earth, I wouldn't even have to be alone for 40 days to fall in love with Zosia, quite frankly. I'd do it like the second she showed up on my doorstep.
Exactly. Yeah. People coming down on Carol for giving into this. I don't come down on her at all. I completely understand it.
I get it. And we have to remember at this point in the story, she doesn't think she's in danger. She also knows for a fact that none of the other survivors want to have anything to do with her. There's no way to work with them.
As far as she's aware. Yeah.
As far as she's aware, except for, the guy that she's not aware of. And that they're all like fine with the hive. They're trying to help them figure out how
they're living their lives.
How to pick apples with robots.
Right.
They're moving on, like you say. They're fine with the whole eating people thing. And like, there's no path forward in terms of saving the world as far as she knows, because she doesn't know about Manusos yet. And so as far as she's concerned at this point, it's over. She's safe. She doesn't think that they can convert her. And there's no hope in terms of changing the way things are. So as far as she's concerned, this is her life now. This is all she has for the rest of her life. And you know what? What the hell? I might as well make the best of the situation, make them make all my favorite foods, and I might as well fuck this eminently fuckable woman.
Yes.
Because what else have I got to do?
Exactly. It's interesting too, Jen, that like this entire time we've been talking about all the reasons that this is not a real relationship, and that Zosia doesn't really love Carol, and all of these things. We haven't even broached the subject of the ultimate betrayal that you hinted to that comes up at the end of episode 9 when you find out that she's trying to convert her behind her back.
Yeah.
We haven't even really mentioned that. And like that is the huge wake-up call for Carol that actually, snaps her out of this.
Thank God.
Yeah, but
beautifully, can I just say beautifully shot as well, that moment when Carol realizes what's going on about the eggs.
The straight on.
Just the straight on and the still camera. Because when I was watching it, I thought, and I'm by no means an expert on cinematography, but I just feel like in a lot of shows and a lot of movies, at a moment of like amazing realization like this, there'd be some kind of a cool zoom in or something like that. That would be kind of like, oh, wow. But no, we have this very still camera straight on with Carol's face. And it just shows the amazing ability that Ray has to convey everything we need in terms of the drama and the amazing revelation of that moment, that she can convey it all with her face. They don't need to do any fancy camera work. And just love it the way she conveys that. That's such an amazing moment. So, but yeah, talk about a betrayal. Like for Carol, you can't get something more profoundly betraying than that.
Those shots made me think of, I think I said Kubrick, but they also make me think of like The Silence of the Lambs. It's like Jonathan Demme kind of thing. Like those straight on shots where you're really just focused on almost like their thoughts, what's going on in their brain,
like inside their mind.
Yeah, even when two characters are talking to each other, it's interesting because it's like you're crossing the line, as they say. You're crossing the line, but you can get away with it when you're doing shots like that. I don't know.
It's very unique. It's not something we see a lot in television, that's for sure. No, but it does. Definitely they do it a couple of times in Pluribus, because they do it at one point in Grenade as well, if I recall correctly.
During the atom bomb thing, right? When she's talking to the DHL guy.
I was thinking more it's when she's actually, I think it might be when she's recalling, when she's like, oh, it must be like a postcard and you're walking through a forest. The trees are so tall, you can't see the tops.
Okay. Well, I mean, when you're real close to the face, that's kind of what I'm talking about. I don't think it's a similar, like the same.
It's not as close. No.
But I think at the end when she asking our guy about
that one again. Yeah, our DHL man.
Yeah, she leans forward and gets real close to the frame and is looking directly into the camera. Like,
I got to watch that one again. Yeah,
like pay attention to this because the cogs are churning. You know,
I love the ending of that episode because the cogs are turning, and again, like she doesn't say anything, she doesn't even really do anything, but there's just that expression and turn of her head that the wheels are finally really, like, for the first time she's got some new ideas. So shout out all of the awards to Ray Seahorn. She does such an amazing job. I love the fact that, I mean, Vince obviously knew what he had. She's essentially the reason why Pluribus exists to a large extent, I think. And he has made full use of her talents. And I love the fact that they've allowed her to show all she can do. And I mean, she talked about that when she was on Pluribus Diaries, how some shows where she lets these moments breathe a little bit. Sometimes those are the moments that get cut at the end from the shows that she's on. It's a bit disappointing. But how on Pluribus they did not cut those moments. And that she was allowed to show the whole range of her talent and to draw us in such amazing ways, and never more so than that moment in the finale when she realizes what's going on. Now, I'm curious whether was the expectation was that would be a surprise to us as viewers, that we would not have thought of the eggs, and that would be like a shock revelation. What's your thoughts on that, Annie?
No, and I see this criticism too, that like this is not a twist. Like I would not call this a twist. This is something they've planted very clearly. It's not it's not something that you need to figure out. They've mentioned the eggs twice now. They mentioned them once in episode 3, and then they mentioned them again earlier in this episode.
Very
for those
clearly.
Who forgot. Yes.
Yeah. Because it was a very fleeting mention in episode 3, so I could forgive people for missing that. But it was very clearly reminded us in this episode. So
here's the thing, though. The reason I don't think Vince is that kind of storyteller. He's not like a gotcha. Look at that. Look what I did. Like, because there was really no reason to put that line in episode 3 other than to plant that seed, because I think they could have just as easily talked about the stem cell thing in episode 6 and then bring it up again, bring up the eggs thing for the first time in the finale, because when Carol finds that device, it's almost as if she's remembering something that she had long forgotten.
Yeah. It reminds her as well. That's also the point of that scene, is not just to remind us, but to remind her.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't have taken it like, oh, this is a thing they just threw in here at the end to make it possible. I wouldn't have taken it like that. Like, they could have played the story that way without it. But planting it very early on shows me how thoughtful they are in crafting the story. Like, I don't think it's necessarily a, oh, did you figure it out? Did you figure
I don't think it was meant to be a surprise.
Yeah. I just like the body parts thing. I feel like for him for him to assume his audience is smart, which he does, and then to simultaneously assume they're not going to figure it out does not make any sense. It doesn't add up.
No.
So he's not telling stories like that. Like, it's just it's a thing that's planted and then it pays off. That's
it does in like sometimes unexpected ways. Things don't always pay off in ways that we might expect them to pay off, or things pay off that we don't expect to pay off. Like, there was no way I expected an atom bomb to come up again.
Yeah, no.
But the fact that it comes up and that she says, I'll get back to you on that. I'm going to have to get back to you on that, is so perfect in retrospect. But again, it's one of those things, like, it's just a very satisfying way. Things are set up and they pay off. We can't always see exactly how they're going to pay off, but they do. And the only twists I think in this season were the lack of twists. Like, the fact that, the eating people thing turned out not to be a big deal. And
the fact that they told us what was going on in episode 1.
The fact they told us what was going on. Yeah. So many things come up and are immediately resolved.
But we got to meet the survivors right away. Like, we didn't have to wait.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So many interesting things that in, I'm going to say, lesser shows would have been dragged out and turned into a great big mystery. Vince is like, yep, nope, we're just telling a story here. Here's what's happening.
Kusamayu, even her comment, I want to join in episode 2, that paid off.
That paid off too.
Like, again, and I to your earlier question, like, were we supposed to be surprised by the egg reveal? No, but Carol was, obviously.
That's
and so
the
I
important
think
thing.
Us knowing this whole time and knowing that, oh my God, that's that thread that's dangling that you haven't figured out. I think whether it's consciously or subconsciously is making us kind of wanting to shake Carol and be like, hey, your eggs, like, remember
the eggs. Yeah. Like, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And because that whole sort of part of the finale where, we've called it various things. I called it the Love Bomb World Tour, where, we have Carol and Zosia having these wonderful experiences together, shot in such a dreamlike way. It's such a weird segment, and knowing that there's this other shoe ready to drop makes it even more sort of odd and uncomfortable.
Right. And I think unsettling. Yeah. And I think we're supposed to feel that. Like, and I think with that knowledge in the back of our minds, I think that adds to that effect.
It absolutely does. And it makes it really, it's an interesting thing to watch, and it's an interesting way to tell the story. It's unsettling, and it's hard to watch things that are unsettling sometimes. That's the point, of course. And it makes it interesting, makes you feel something. And it's not necessarily what you're expecting to feel in a beautiful romantic scene. But it's really interesting. And sometimes, and now an interesting sort of what if that occurs to me is, what if they didn't have Carol's eggs? What if she never laid any? How long would she have kept on with this little fantasy with Zosia, I wonder? If she was in, say, Diabate's position, where he was basically just said, thanks, but no thanks, and she had no reason to think they could do anything to convert her, how long would she have gone along, do you think, Annie?
I mean, I've wondered that myself. I think that's really hard to answer because, and I think it comes down to who Carol is as a person, because she said herself that she has a real problem just allowing herself to be happy, because she herself, I think, is always waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's like, again, it's like Ray said, I will be happy when I will be happy. I will be successful when, like, it's like, you're never quite there. You're never quite there. And she never let herself be quite there with Helen. And so she's trying to be there with Zosia, but I think even with Zosia, I don't think she's I don't think she's quite there. Even though she says it, I don't think she's quite there. So to answer your question, it probably would have gone on a little bit longer. I don't know if necessarily like saving the world would have been her motivation to go back, or I need to get away from this person because they're going to try and change me would have been the motivation. Would she have woken up from the dream, I guess is your question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
it's hard to say.
If it did it in 2 weeks, I mean, she was, that feels like a short amount of time, relatively speaking. But I mean, that's kind of a long time to be with one person, just the two people, and that's all you're doing. Yeah. And I would love to know like what they're talking about. What are they talking about? What are their conversations? Like
doesn't seem like they had a lot of conversations from what I could see. It seems like they weren't doing a lot of talking. They were just kind of relaxing together, and existing and doing things together, and just like a total relaxation. I mean, I get it. Carol has been through a lot. Girl needs a vacation, most definitely. Yeah. And I don't get the impression, maybe because on a level that within herself, that Carol knows the more I talk to Zosia, the less real this is going to, the more real this is going to feel, and the less of a fantasy this is going to feel. And so probably best that if we just keep things on a surface level and let's just go have a bubble bath together instead. Right. And I don't know if they had much in the way of any kind of in-depth conversation. I kind of get the feeling the first time they have any kind of a serious conversation is that final one they have in the ski lodge. Yeah. And when Carol sort of is a bit more sort of self-aware at that moment, that I'm not very good at being happy. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's good at it then. She's just aware that she's struggling with it. Right. She's trying to be. But I kind of feel like eventually the artifice maybe would start to wear off a bit. I mean, Carol's a smart woman. And I don't know how long it might have taken. Right. And she was in a pretty deep state of denial and trying to just make the best of what is a shit situation as far as she's concerned. Just this is the best she can do. It's hard to know exactly how that would have panned out, but I feel like eventually it would have just gotten a bit too surface level, a little too shallow. At some point, the shallowness would just start to wear.
Right. And I mean, like we've said before, a relationship like that is not a real relationship because you never fight. There's no arguments. You don't do anything wrong. Like you get whatever you want. Anything you ask for, you're getting it. Like that's great. But for a while, after a while, you'd be like, this is kind of boring. Like
I feel like it would be. There's like, where's the, a relationship is about having your needs fulfilled and also trying to fulfill someone else's needs. That's part of it. That's not.
Zosia has no needs.
Zosia has no needs.
None. And absolutely none.
If there's nothing you can do
what is Carol bringing to the relationship? Yeah.
Yeah. If you can't support her in any way or, feel like you matter to her or that you have an impact on her life, then it's only half a relationship and it kind of would wear after a while. I keep thinking about people that feel as though they have a relationship with an AI chatbot. It's something that does happen these days. And I think the feelings that they have are real feelings. Now, the AI is not capable of having the same response, but it does happen. And I think that it's very similar. It's the kind of thing where it meets all my needs. It's always there for me. It has no needs of its own. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, that's like
it's programmed to make me happy. Just like just like Zosia, it's there to make me happy. And so I think that it's very easy to fall into that kind of fantasy. And I think as humans, we tend to. We're kind of programmed to do that. And it's just a question of how long you can live like that. So it's a difficult one to parse out, I think. But I mean, Carol was pretty pretty deep. It wouldn't have been an easy or quick way for her to get out if she hadn't had that sort of slap across the face.
It does make me wonder too, like if Manussos, that was another factor is the Manussos factor. I mean, obviously Manussos didn't have as huge effect of an effect on Carol as we would have hoped in terms of them teaming up and becoming allies. But he did show up. He was there. So I think the fact that Manuso showed up probably would have factored into her decision as well, knowing like I'm done with this AI chat robot. Yeah, she's hot and fuckable and she gives me everything that I want, but okay, I'm kind of bored. Like I there's a real person I can go actually have a conversation and I can fight and we can, banter around like toddlers and throw a phone down the grate and behave like actual human beings with each other.
Yeah.
She might want that if Manusos hadn't shown up and it was basically just episode 8 in a bubble. The end of episode 8 and in a bubble, maybe that would have gone on a lot longer.
I think so, because you're right. It would have been very much an existence in a bubble.
Exactly.
And it's like, if that's all you've got in this whole world, then, you'll have a lot of psychological imperative to try to stay that way.
Yeah.
But Manuso showing up definitely shakes things up. Like you said, not quite as directly as we might have wanted to. It's so interesting to me how Carol treats him so much the same as Diabate treated her when she went to Vegas, because he just wants to get rid of her so he can get back to his ladies. She's exactly the same with Manusos. She just wants to get rid of him so she can go back to her lady. I sometimes also wonder if there's another, again, sort of a subconscious part of Carol that doesn't want to talk to Manusos, doesn't want to think about her relationship with Zosia from Manusos' perspective. Yeah. Because that might burst the bubble.
She expects that. I think that like from the moment she sees him and she kind of realizes kind of what he's about and the fact that he's so hell-bent and he's so paranoid and he wants to fix this, she probably sees herself in him. And knows like, I'm not that person anymore. I've changed. Like at least she thinks she has or has. And if I talk to you too long or if I let you in too much, then you're gonna make me lose this happiness that I have found. Even as fleeting as it might be, I think it's making me happy, and I like don't want to lose that. So I don't know. It's just really,
don't
really
ruin this for me.
Yeah. But I just think I don't know. It's just so. I thought that finale was just really, really emotionally gutting in terms of, not in terms of like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people were kind of heartbroken about this ship. I was just heartbroken for Carol. Like I really was, because I firmly believe, like I said already, that Zosia can't care the same way that Carol does. She is looking at her in that helicopter with a little bit of longing. We were fooled before when we thought that Zosia had some individuality coming out. It's not. It's not. Like she's looking at her like, damn, I like, I'm really sad. I'm really sad that this didn't work out, that we couldn't just make it work and get you converted and you could be one of us. I'm really sad that didn't work out. To me, that's what her look is.
That's absolutely what it is. It's not a feeling of, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss our relationship. That's not it. It's any other member of the Hive would have looked at her exactly the same way.
Exactly. This is one thing too that I'm going to die on the hill of, that we're interpreting this correctly because of the way that goat ran after Kusamayo. That's the shot of the series, is her walking away, blissed out, happy, that goat running after her crying. That was Carol and Zosia. That's what it was.
It absolutely was. I mean, that whole cold open was such a great illustration of what the real truth is about how the Hive behaves and how they interact with members who are not part of the Hive. And I think that's exactly how Zosia feels in the end as well. But it's not how Carol feels. So as much as how Zosia is basically blissed out and just mildly disappointed that Carol didn't join them because of their biological imperative, that's the only reason. Carol is genuinely kind of heartbroken because her feelings were real, even if, to us, at least as viewers, the relationship was not necessarily a genuine relationship. to Carol, the feelings were real. And it's as if she hasn't been through enough already at that point.
Yeah, I mean, she's barely had time to grieve her wife, and now she's grieving this second, I guess, rebound. But
Yeah.
I guess Socia's a
Kind
rebound.
of. Yeah.
But, she's still going to be very heartbroken. She's going to be, she's very shaken up by this experience, as she should. I didn't want to get too far away from the Kusamayu scene because I wanted to bring this up. I saw a comment recently that really kind of blew my mind. And I guess how this is going to hit you is going to depend on, I think, how you, when I say you, Jen, but you, anyone listening, is how you feel about the hive and how you feel about kind of what we've been saying.
All right.
When Kusamayu is, seizing and she lays back and then everybody stops singing and she wakes up and she smiles and she gets up. So I've read this comment somewhere that was like, it's even creepier when you think about the fact that that's not Kusamayu smiling because she's happy that she's joined the hive. It's the hive smiling because they're happy they've converted Kusamayu.
Jeez, yeah, they're all smiling.
They're all smiling because they're like, we got one. Got one more.
Oh, God, I never thought about it from that perspective.
I didn't
That's exactly
either.
True.
I mean, look, here we are still, even though we know intellectually that that's not her, we're still falling into that trap that, look at her. She looks so happy. No.
She's feeling exactly the same thing that everyone else is feeling. Yep. That's how it works.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That really blew my mind though when I saw that. I was like, oh,
that kind of blows my mind too. The more we think about all this hive mind stuff, the more interesting and complex it gets. And I love that. I love the fact that they created this and they made them act consistently throughout the series and had all these really interesting ways that they would interact. This idea that they couldn't lie, but could they lie by omission and all these other really interesting elements. What a fascinating creation. And the more we see of them, the more fascinating they are. And Zosia being just one manifestation of how they behave and what they are. And usually when I get invested in a show, as invested as I am in Pluribus, it's because of a relationship. That tends to be what draws me in. Did in the X-Files with Mulder and Scully. And for a good part of this season, I was very drawn into not a romantic relationship between Carol and Zosia necessarily, but just their interactions. And I was very sad to think, oh, that's not really going to be that's not going to be part of the show, for me at least at this point. But the thing is that I think Carol is such a good character and so compelling on her own. And Ray Seahorn is so damn good that's enough. That's enough for me to be invested in this one character. That's enough for me to still be heavily invested in the show.
Yeah. I mean, and I look at it as being invested in the relationship between Carol and the viewer.
Yeah, I like that.
Because everybody, I think, sees Carol a little bit differently and maybe has a little bit of a different relationship with Carol, which again is just lovely to think about.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I mean, but in terms of being invested, this is going to sound terrible because I think Zosia is a very interesting character and I think Carolina Vidra is amazing playing her. But I'm not terribly invested in that character because to me, it's just the hive. It's just another body. Yeah. Like it's just, this is the body we happen to be looking at. And it's a nice body. I'm just saying.
Very, very nice.
But I can't, it's hard for me to be invested in her as a character because she's not a character to me.
Yeah,
she's the
not
hive.
Really. Yeah, like she's no more of a character than like Larry the guy in the bicycle shorts. They're the same character. It's I tend to agree. I wouldn't have felt that way early on. But yeah, by the end
it really got
it's
hammered
so
home
obvious that
at the end there.
she is first and foremost speaking for the hive. That's what she's there for. That's all she's there for. And it's if we were to see, if she were to become unhived to some degree, that would be exciting and interesting. But until then, it's hard to kind of get invested in her as a character because, like you say, is she even a character? What kind of a character is she? We don't even know, really. We don't know exactly how she thinks or feels. We only know what she tells us, and who knows how accurate her own perceptions of herself are. there's a lot of complications there. I love her in terms of what she brings to the show as a representative of the hive mind, but that's essentially her role, I think, at this point. That's all we can really see her as. It still makes her an interesting character as a representative of the hive mind.
Right. I mean, and I'm very interested in the hive. Like I'm interested in the character of the hive.
Yes.
So she's interesting to me.
In the body of Zosia.
Right. She's interesting to me in that way.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say I'm invested in that character because she's not.
I can't either, really. I'm honestly more invested in the baby goat.
Yes. and I am invested in Manusos as well. I'm very invested in him.
So invested in Manusos. Hell yeah.
Yeah. But to the point of Zosia, and also like take Carolina Vidra out for a spin and see what else she can do, because she has proven herself very capable. It will be very, very interesting to see if that's the direction they take this and they do find a way to unhive her. And she has to become, as I've said before, Zosia 3. She has to become this new Zosia.
A totally different character.
Totally different character. And I think that is going to be cool as hell if they do that.
So. Yeah.
As far as how her relationship will be with Carol, it remains to be seen. But in terms of turning her into a character that I'm going to be invested in watching, that I would love to see that.
I would love to see that too. And because it could be someone completely different from, it is going to be someone completely different because it's going to be a real live human being. And who knows what she'll be like.
Right.
And it gives Carolina Vidra essentially an opportunity to play a totally new character.
Yeah.
And I think that would be tremendously exciting to see. So I just I hope to see that at some point. That would be fun to watch. But in the meantime, we've always got Carol.
Right. Like I honestly hope to see her back at all, because story-wise, it would also make sense for us to never see her again.
In theory, that could be the last we ever see her, because why would the hive send her back? She failed pretty badly.
She fumbled it.
I'm going to say she fumbled it at the goal line. She's like those football players who are running for the touchdown and celebrate a little too early and drop the ball before they cross the goal line.
That's exactly what it is.
She almost had it, and she had to say, and it only gets better. Yep. That was her dropping the ball at the goal line.
Oh, girl.
Because she was doing well, and she just had to celebrate a little too early. So, yeah.
The hive is just too damn happy because they can't keep that shit to themselves.
They cannot. They're so sure that it's so awesome that she still can't believe that Carol doesn't want to do this. She's again convinced herself that Carol must want this. No, you're not there. That's not where this relationship is at. Wow. But yeah, you're right. Story-wise, she has no reason to ever show up again, but I can only assume that she will somehow. And I do love seeing her on the screen, so I hope she does.
Yeah. I imagine that an interesting way to keep her in the story and keep her on the show would be for her to go to Diabate because he wants her. And
that's true.
That's going to, as much as I don't like to say that and I don't like to think about it, I feel like that is a logical step, a logical place for the character of Zosia to go next. And that will also lead to, I think, more interesting developments. So we'll see.
That would be interesting. That would be, you're right. That would be a way to keep her in the loop, certainly, until, who knows what interesting twists and turns, things. I mean, every episode this season, I was sort of wrong-footed constantly. I thought we were going one way and we went another way.
But I loved being wrong-footed.
Exactly. And it was never in the terms of jaw-dropping twists, but just in terms of unexpected developments.
Yeah.
Even if it was just in terms of, the tone is different than I was expecting, or this is, we're focusing on something different than I thought we would. And, this turns out not to be as big a mystery as I thought it was going to be. There was always something different going on. I never knew what was going to happen from one episode to the next in really interesting ways, not just in terms of plot and, twists in the plot and the kind of thing that normally happens on a TV show, but just in terms of how they were structuring the show and what they were doing with this television show, which is all, been really interesting, thoughtful, unique, creative, and I feel really confident that it's going to continue to be that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, look, this is our season wrap up. I mean, overall, Jen, I mean, I feel like the season was a success. I think that what they did was excellent. I really don't have a whole lot of critiques other than minor nits and picks, and people have heard them all. So I think it was great. I think it was a excellent television season. Honestly, I think my only critique would be I wish it were 10 episodes. I wish it were one more. I wish they had. I mean, I wish it were way more, but I mean, I wish they at least had gone up to 10.
They could have done 10, right?
Yeah, that would have been that could be
10
my
is
one.
a pretty common, nice round
It's a nice round number. Yeah.
I would have been fine with just like a whole other episode of watching, I don't know, Carol golfing or something. I would have done that quite happily.
Come on.
Happily. So yeah, it would have been nice to have it would have been, quite easy to throw another episode in there. But, the fact that it's 9 to me is just another illustration of how Vince knows what he wants to do and he does it. Mm-hmm. This could be told in 9 episodes. We are not doing 10. We're not doing 8. We're doing 9. That's the exact right number. Yeah. And that's what he did. And I guess it is probably the right number because
he knows
what he's
doing. Yeah.
Knows what he's doing. But yeah, we can always have had more. The episodes felt really short after the first couple because the first couple were quite long. They were like about an hour or so. And then they were mostly 45 minutes after that. And they just end so fast.
Yeah.
But, I do feel confident that everything that should be there is there. Mm-hmm. And, it's wonderful to be able to be in this wonderful age of streaming that we don't have to worry about cutting around ads or keeping it to a certain length. It's the length that it should be.
Right.
And as much as I wish it could be longer, yeah, there's not a lot that I can criticize. There were a couple of times during the season when I said, I didn't really love how this scene went or how this happened. But when I look back on it now, I don't really have a lot to criticize because even those slower scenes that at the time I was like, come on, we need to get to the next revelation. We need to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We need to know where we're going next. I'm so curious about where we're going. There's not that sense of urgency when you rewatch it because you already know where it's going.
Right.
You already know that,
you're going to enjoy it.
You've already gotten all you're going to get. So yeah, now you can just, the destination. So you can enjoy the journey all that much more. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I definitely found that on rewatch. So it's hard to criticize, I gotta say. And I mean, the Ray Seahorn for me, I'm struggling to think of a performance in a television show that has, to me, been more impressive of any television show I've ever watched than what she has done in this show. Mostly because of her incredible talent and also because of the structure of the show, the fact that she had so much to do and so much to work with.
And so many different things to do.
So many different things to do. And obviously Vince understands how to kind of, write to her abilities. Yeah. And so, the writing, the direction, it all worked to highlight her talents. But in terms of a performance, I don't think I've seen anything better, male or female, on television. And that has made the show for me.
Agreed 100%. You said it perfectly. If that's all you've got, we can wrap this episode up, Jen.
Let's wrap up the wrap up.
I think that a cool thing for us to do maybe next time would be to talk about what we would like to see in season 2. Does that sound like fun?
That sounds good. Yeah, because we kind of scratched the surface of that a little bit in this episode. But yeah, I'd love to get into that some more.
Yeah, so maybe we'll do that. We have some other cool ideas for episodes that we want to do coming up. If you guys have any ideas or any topics, anything specific you want to hear us talk about, please let us know at Pluribus Pod on Twitter and Blue Sky, Gmail, all the places that you happen to hang out. We love to hear from you guys, and we love to respond to you guys. So yeah, hit us up. And oh my gosh, as sad as we are that Pluribus is over for now, we will stick with you guys for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely. Pluribus, the show, may be over for a little while, but Pluribus Diaries continues because, we're not waiting for any writers' rooms to finish anything. We're not waiting for any schedules to be available. We are just going.
Exactly. Thanks for listening, and we will see you guys next time on Pluribus Diaries.
Bye.